We finally met them. They explained how they became doctors. They seem to have it all. But let us understand. Since the day they thought about taking the PhD journey, how has it been? Has it been as easy as they look? Let's listen to them.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Naomi Kagone. With me here, I have two beautiful ladies, Dr. Ruth Wambui and Dr. Lydia Kabwe. We are here to share with our viewers our journey being doctors and also some of the challenges that we have encountered, and more importantly, to share our dreams and the impact that we envision that we are going to bring to the society. Welcome. Today, it's yet another beautiful day where we are here with my fellow doctors, ready to share our journey, our academic journey, and more so to share the challenges that we encountered. For the main reason is we want to encourage other people who are out there who are thinking that they would want to do their PhD. Some are doubting themselves, some are fearing, and some are feeling that they don't have what's stake to get to attain their doctorate. We are here to encourage you, to tell you that it is possible, it can be done. For example, in my case, when I registered to do my PhD, as I said that it was a push factor, but one thing I knew is that I wanted to do my PhD so that I can become a consultant. I started as usual, whereby you sit down, you go to the Register of Academic, you present your papers, you fill in the form, and you register, and you get admitted. So I did exactly that. I presented my papers, that is my master's papers, and I qualified to register for my doctorate. It started as usual, whereby I'm supposed to attend my classes and then to do the assignment just like any other the requirement. It has not been very easy, but I want to say that it is possible because I made it, and that's why today I am here as a Dr. Naomi. One of the main challenge that I would say that I encountered is that I had to balance, I had to life-work balance, because I was a mother, I was a wife, and also I had the assignment to do. And also, for example, you needed also to work with other, my classmates, that are other in terms of group work. And you find that because sometimes you're working, you're studying with people who are still working, when it's come to completing the assignment, they've not completed the assignment in good time, or the group work in good time. So you'll find that you have to go and present your case to your lecturers. And sometimes you could find lecturers who don't care as much. They're not ready to listen to your excuses. And that time you are left to wonder whether you're going to pass that unit or you are going to retake that unit. And you know what that one means? If you retake a unit, it means that you're also going to pay extra money, or you're going to pay for that unit. So those are some of the challenges. But the main challenge which I personally encountered is when we came to, I registered for my PhD for 2011. It took me cool 5 years because I graduated in 2016. The first year you're supposed to do the coursework, then the second year and the third year and the other years, whereby it should not be too long. Maybe the third year, you're supposed to have finished your project, and therefore you graduate. So it did not happen to my case that I registered for my coursework for the first year and I did my project for the 2 years. It took me extra 2 years, so that it took me 5 years. And I remember when I was in my third year, the things were so tough in terms of when I started my project, whereby you could go to take your project to your supervisor. The supervisor is not available. I remember there's a year that I didn't even touch my paper at all. I did not research. I did not even open my laptop regarding to do the research on my project. The reason being, I was feeling so frustrated because my lecturer or my supervisor was not there to give me the corrections. And what happens is that when you do your paper, you do, for example, section 1 or chapter 1, you present it to your supervisor and you're supposed to discuss with you, and they give you corrections that you're supposed to undertake. So I remember that year I did my chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3 before I presented the proposal, and I took to my supervisor. but it took like more than 5 months. I've never gotten the positive response. You go to his office, you go to the university, in vain. You're not getting the required support. So I got to a point I gave up, and I decided that I don't even want to finish my PhD. And I folded my papers, I folded my laptop, and for a whole year I didn't do anything regarding my paper. It was until then, because at that time you still feel there's unfinished work, in a manner that even if you had another extra assignment in the places of work, you do it so well, you excel. At the back of your mind, you still feel you have some luggage because there's unfinished work. And I realized that that stress was spilling over to my family members, because I remember one day my son asked me, "Mom, when did you ever finish this PhD?" Because I gave birth to him when I was studying, and he found me still reading. And at some point he asked me, "When will you ever finish this?" After that year, when I did not do much, I also remember one evening my husband came, and he was very furious about this unfinished business, because he realized that it is draining me, and in a manner that you are not happy, you are not appreciating, you feel like there's so much on your shoulder, but you are not able to put it down. And I remember he came and told me, "You know what, Naomi, it's a matter of life and death. You have to finish this thing." And at that time is when I picked my pieces, and I decided to go back to my study room. I decided to pick up my papers, and I continued now to research. And I went to the university. At that point, I had to change my supervisor, because the supervisor that I started with, he ended up to be very unavailable. Those are some of the challenges that you encounter. He was not available, and I had to change my supervisor. And you remember, it's a whole process, because you have to write to the registrar, you have to explain why you want to change your supervisor. But I am happy, because when I decided to change my supervisor, from whom I was changing to the one that I took at that time, he was ready to release me and allow me to start afresh with a new supervisor. So those are some of the challenges that I encountered, my relationship with the supervisor. And these are some of the things that most of the students, they fear. They fear to hear that maybe the supervisor is not cooperative. But I want to say that by the end of the day, I was able to do my research, was able to finish my degree, and I graduated.
So welcome again to this session. Today we are speaking about the challenges that we experienced in our PhD journey. Remember when I spoke earlier, I spoke about how excited I was to register for my PhD because it's something I always knew I wanted to do. But I just woke up one day and decided that was the day. And I thank God because I was able to get the required amount of money that I needed for the registration. I did my bachelor's degree at Kenyatta University. For my master's, I went to Nairobi University. And then again for my PhD, I decided to go back to what I considered my home. That is Kenyatta University. Wow. And so one day I just went back and requested for the forms. I registered. I thought it was automatic, but I was told it wasn't, because I thought I'd just complete the forms. They'd give me the admission letter and I'd go to class. But they told me that they needed to look at my units, my performance, and decide whether I actually qualified for the PhD in that university. And I guess that is when I started hitting me that the journey was not going to be as smooth as I had anticipated. So as I registered for my PhD, I didn't see any difficulties beforehand. And I knew PhD was all about research. And I was ready for research. And I was happy, I was lucky, I got the registration, I got the admission, and I needed to start going to class. And that is where I started getting shocked from day one. The class that I attended in KU, it's called PhD Business. And it's a weekend class because I had a day job. And so you'd go to class on Friday, starting 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then we used to do class whole day on Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I started on a Friday. I think it was like the third week because I registered. I got my admission a bit late, but they told me I could still join. So shock on me, that is where my PhD shock started, when I attended my first class. So it was a statistics class. Remember, my first degree was B.Ed English. My second degree was MBA. So here I am doing a PhD in business, and specifically, I wanted to specialize in strategic management. And so I knew I would take many units in strategic management and just a few units to help me with research. So shock on me when I go to class. And it's a statistics class, and it's not a beginner's statistics class. It's an advanced statistics class. So I go and sit. Remember, I am from work. I'm quite tired. It's 5 p.m. But I'm excited to start this journey. So I go sit in class, and I ask and I listen. And I don't feel like that is a class I registered for, because it's not a strategic management class. It's not a research class. What am I doing in a statistics class? So I asked the person seated next to me, what class is this? And they tell me it's PhD in business. And I continue listening. And I just do not seem to fit in. So I feel not satisfied with the answer I was given. So I pick my book and I write in capital letters, block capitals, what class is this? And the guy writes back in block capitals like he's telling me, I already told you it's PhD in business. And so I knew, and that time I think I'd already written a check of about 200,000. And I'm wondering, can I get my refund? Because I had not signed up for statistics. But then again, I sit through the class. And remember, it's Friday night. I sit through until 8 p.m. And then I come to class again tomorrow. Now I had the night to think whether really this is what I wanted to do. But, I decided, let me just come and listen again. So when I come now on Saturday, I get to know my classmates, and they confirm to me that this is PhD. And yes, there will be, there's a total of 9 units in the coursework, and about 5 of them are in statistics. Yes, including econometrics. Yeah. And remember, I had not even done econometrics 1 or econometrics 2, but I was going to do econometrics 3. And the thing with a PhD, there are no retakes, or so to speak. So you have to pass. And even if you are given an opportunity for a supplementary, you must get 50% without the cuts and assignments. So the thing is, if you don't pass the first time round for a particular unit, chances are very high you won't pass. It really bothered me. But now here is the thing. On day 2, Saturday, so I have decided, okay, fine, I will handle the statistics. I'll just have to sit down and really study. And then what do I discover? I discover that I'm expectant. Now, here I am. My 200,000 is already paid. It's non-refundable. Number 2, it is statistics, which really I didn't want to do at this particular time. And then here I am expectant. On day 1, let's call it weekend 1, in January. And I have to study until the end of the year. And so at that time I called myself a meeting. And I asked myself, Lydia, you really wanted to do a PhD?
But not when you're pregnant.
Are you sure you still want to do it? And the thing is this, at least when you're expectant, it is you and the pregnancy. But now if you defy and you say, let me take a year off, how about after the baby comes? You still need to defer again for the baby
To grow.
to breastfeed at least for the first 1 year. And so it occurred to me, it's either was the baby and I who were going to sit down and do this PhD, or we were going to put it off for many years. And remember, I was a young mother. I had 2 other babies, and here is a third one coming. I am married, I am a wife, I am employed, and here is a course, a difficult course. But we did the coursework. So I actually started in January, did the 9 units, got the baby sometime in October, mid-October. Actually, I got the baby and I came 2 weeks after to complete the course because we were doing exams. And so I think at that time, I knew no matter how difficult that course was, if I didn't get a single supplementary for the whole 9 units, including econometrics, which seemed to me like I just couldn't manage. Because remember, I had not done any economics other than the MBA 1 unit in economics. I had not encountered economics again in my studies. And so when I completed the coursework and I passed all the units, I knew for sure that I would manage. But then again, research was not what I expected. Like Dr. Naomi explained, there were so many different factors. See, when you're doing the coursework, there's many of you. You do the assignments together, you come to class together, you encourage each other. But why so many people get defeated by PhD is that you have to do the thesis on your own.
True. That's true.
So after being in a class of, I think my PhD class were like 25 of us. My particular specialization, that is strategic management, we started off 5 of us, but I think 1 dropped off along the way. So we only completed the coursework, 4 of us. And I think out of the 4, just 2 of us have graduated 8 years later.
Wow.
In the class of 25 people, I think just about 10 of us have graduated 8 years later. Why? Because while you can sit down and hold each other's hands as you do the coursework, when it comes to writing the thesis and the research work, you are out there on your own.
On your own, true.
So, what will matter at the end of the day is your self-drive.
Yeah.
Of course, there is the support of your family, there is the support of your supervisors, but it's all about you. Because at this time, there is no class on Friday night, there is no class on Saturday. So when you do your work, you take it to your supervisor and they give you the corrections. It is up to you to now organize yourself. Remember, there is work. Remember, there are babies. There's a husband. There's family. There are other things. The society has not switched off because you are doing your PhD. You still have to organize yourself. You have to plan yourself. You have to do your corrections. And your supervisor is not just seated there waiting for you. They have other competing needs. So there are times you want to see them much as they want to see you. They have other students to supervise. They also have other work. They have families. So the journey is so lonely and challenging. And nobody gives you a map at the very beginning and they tell you you start here and you end here. In fact, I feel one of the most confusing things in my PhD journey is that I didn't have the end in mind. Because your supervisor tells you, go write Chapter 1, Section 1.1, Introduction or Background of the Study. And you do not have all the parts, because if you had the parts, at least you'd be able to see in the map, this part belongs here, this part belongs here, and this part belongs here. So, in your own struggle, that is when you discover that at some point the parts are supposed to come together. It is when you learn that kumbe your empirical review section is supposed to support your background of the study. And nobody told you that at the beginning. Nobody tells you that your theoretical review session is actually supposed to support your background of the study. Nobody tells you that your conceptual framework is supposed to start from we call it operationalization of terms. Only during the defense
You will be
will
questioned.
you go and somebody will open your document and tell you the way you have operationalized this particular variable here at the operationalization of terms is different from your background of the study, is different from your theoretical review, empirical review. It is even different from the way you're operationalizing it in chapter 3. And so it becomes so depressing, by the way, at some point. And at this point, you have worked for 2-3 years. You have written your 1.1, 1.2, 2 point, and somebody goes and disintegrates the document, and you remain with nothing. So during your defense, a panelist will go and tell you that your X2 does not make any sense. You know, and that means that you have to go back to your document and like almost change all of it, because you have to reconceptualize it again. And so the journey, you know, the to and the fro. Personally, I blame it to the fact that I did not have the end in mind. Maybe if we had a room somewhere in the university where they draw you a map and they tell you this is what we expect. If you are doing a causal relationship like I was, this is your Y and these are your X's. And this is where we expect. This is what we expect. If you're stuck out there, what do I have to tell you? I think I just have to tell you that each time you go to see your supervisor and you're so discouraged and you're thinking that perhaps this thing is not for me, sometimes it might even feel like your supervisor is being malicious. And in most cases, that is not even the case. Your supervisor just wants you to write a good document.
It's true.
When I look back right now and I look at my document, I'm very proud of it. And I am happy to refer other people to it because it's a beautiful document, but it took a long time. It took 8 years. So when I went to do my departmental defense, and that is where I met Dr. Ruth, and we were doing our defenses together. After the defense, I went outside, sat somewhere and cried. Because the things I had been told in that defense
They were so demoralizing.
And remember, what I told you, in my primary school, I knew how to study.
Now you had
I
been
never
shown.
doubted my intellect. Throughout my high school, I never doubted my intellect. My undergrad, I never doubted my intellect. My MBA was not difficult, it was easy. Even my coursework for PhD, even though I thought it was difficult, I struggled, and again I proved my intellect. Here, for the first time,
You were shown that.
I went for that defense, and for the first time in my life, I doubted my intellectual capacity.
Sorry.
Because I was told my X's could not go together
had
with
no
my Y.
relationship.
I had variables that we call mediating and moderating. And as I walked out of that room, when I went in, I was certain what a mediating variable was and what my mediating variable was. But when I was walking out,
They mixed up.
actually, I was not even sure I know anymore the meaning of a mediating variable.
Wow.
And the relationship it is supposed to have with the independent and the dependent variable. But like I said earlier, I thank God for the panelists. They didn't seem kind at the time. If anything, they appeared to be malicious. But because they kept on pointing out my mistakes, they kept on telling me where I was going wrong. They kept on insisting and persisting that I must redo, I must make corrections. Then I had that beautiful paper that I am proud today to speak about. So, you keep at it. You shall complete. I completed after 8 years. I know there are people who have taken longer, but if you keep at it, because not a lot of people anyway even attempt to register for the PhD. And out of 100 Kenyans, for instance, perhaps you're one, because it's only about not even 1%. We have around 5,000 PhD out there in a population of
Over 50 million.
Over 50 million Kenyans. So don't give up. The community needs you. The society needs you. We are needed out here because, like we said earlier, we are all gifted differently. And you are in that percentage, that outlier, if we look at a normal curve, that is gifted to be able to do this. So don't give up, just keep at it and you shall manage. And thank you so much. I know later on we shall be speaking about what later after the PhD.
As I share my journey from the PhD or through the PhD learning, I will say nothing goes wrong, everything starts wrong. I think I started on a wrong footage. Number one, when I was enrolling for my PhD, in the first place I was expectant when I was applying. And I applied for a PhD in the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, JKUAT. When they were looking at my papers, they recommended that I have to do a pre-doc course, which I felt was not very relevant to me because I didn't know of any such kind of a qualification. So by the time I was restructuring myself and looking for another university, I already had the baby. So, and I applied for a position in KU, Kenyatta University, and I got it. But now, come January, by the time I was supposed to report, I didn't have enough money to pay for my school fees. So what I did, I wrote a letter to defer the studies, which I deferred. But when they wrote the letter back to me, they didn't defer me to the following year, but the following term, semester, okay? So by the time I joined, it was already second sem. That's where I was getting to a class I didn't know. Of course, my classmates had already bonded. They already knew one another. They already had the field, the PhD field that you people have talked about. No, me, I was green. So when I got to the class, it was a class on data analysis. You can imagine from wherever, you just get into a class of data analysis. And I sat there. After that, I joined my class on a Saturday. After that, there was that class on econometrics. Mm-hmm. Every person who is doing PhD, you know econometrics is not a walk in the park. So I couldn't even understand what the teacher was saying. I couldn't try to grasp. No matter how much I tried to listen, I couldn't understand where we are coming from and where we are going. I was amazed that my classmates, nobody is asking a question. And then the teacher was saying, as you well know,
Then he continues. As you very well know, he continues. So I was thinking, these people, the reason they are understanding is because they have studied first semester, which I had not. So I listened. After I got out of that class, I remembered there was a man I had done for tuition in our village, and through the academic journey, he had gone to KU to study economics. So he was there doing his 4th year in economics when I was starting my PhD. Okay, so I called him and told him, now, you remember I tuitioned you in Form 3, Form 4? Now it's your turn. I need the basics, at least the basics of economics, so that I am able to at least understand what is happening. And after every class, I used to meet Eric for 2 hours to tuition me on the basics of economics. And that is how at least I managed the coursework. I did 2nd sem, I did 3rd sem. My classmates were all happy that they were going to do the project. But unto me, I had to wait for the others who are enrolling to do the 1st semester. So, and also, to take you back a bit, when I was having a lot of difficulties, I met a classmate who at least we sat together most of the times. And one time I asked him, right now he's Dr. Makori, I asked him, how come you people understand these things? And he laughed and told me, it's not because we understand. We already learned that in class you don't understand. You listen and go and study on your own. So I was like, so the people are not quiet because they are understanding? No, we already learned that here. If you try to understand, you will not move. So I learned to pick the notes, get the little that I can, and go and study later. So after they finished, they went to write their papers. Of course, everyone, you already know that once you finish coursework, you want to do your research in 1 year and graduate. So they were all enthusiastic about it. Me, I had to wait for freshers to come, and I could see them struggling to understand, and I knew. So that is how I did my coursework. And when I went out there, I looked for supervisors, and I asked a friend of mine to help me know the good supervisors, and they recommended. I got one, a man and a woman, and I thought that I'm good to go. And I wrote a letter the way you used to fill forms to request for a supervisor and even propose, and they accepted. When I met my supervisor, the lady told me, I don't work with failures. So if you know you will graduate after 10 years, just back off. I work with those people who know what they are doing. So I told her, I'm that one person.
That's what they are doing.
Yes. The other one told me, I hope that you already done your coursework, so go and write for me your concept and bring. Now, again, I start wrong. Because I feel, from where I sit now, I feel I was sent to do a concept, but I wasn't told what is the concept, on what constitutes a concept. So of course I went and asked the other people who I thought, who are my classmates. Of course now they were struggling with their proposals. So what is this concept about? You just go write your problem and that's it. Remember, I still don't know. Okay, I knew what a problem was from my master's, but now I know that I didn't know what a problem was. So I went and wrote a concept, and the two supervisors looked at it on different capacities and times, because also getting them together is a problem. And they both gave me a go ahead. Go and write chapter 1. My friend, do I even know what chapter 1 constitutes? So I go to the library, look for the thesis that have been done, look at what has chapter 1, what constitutes chapter 1, I come and also try to pack. And there was all that back and forth.
back and forth. You write, the supervisor looks at it and tells you, Ruth, I don't see a problem here. Go and write a proper problem. You see? Now, you've not told me that I'm filling gaps, methodological, contextual, conceptual. You're not telling me what really it is. I go and look for another problem. And because of those back and forth, remember, I have a young baby. Yeah? The other thing, I'm also trying to develop, and I'm also working. So I was hooked into construction business. And off, I went to do construction up and there, and I became a mjengo girl. I was up and about doing mjengo here and there. Before I knew it, I was pregnant. Again. By that time, thank God, I had already written my proposal and appeared for a defense. In this defense, that is not the one I met Dr. Lydia. This was the first time I appeared for my defense. And it happened that there was a strike. But the School of Business, they opted to still listen to my defense and others, at least to reduce the backlog. But when I stood up and introduced my topic, the demonstrators came at the door, and all the lecturers, they vanished and left me there. And that was it. So I had to again restructure and wait for them to get a slot for me. The second time I went there, they listened to my proposal. And so much, this is when you now come to feel. I think, as Dr. Lydia says, that she sat somewhere and cried. I sat down and wondered whether I was mad. Because nothing, remember I had walked a very long journey to put up a proposal. And you can imagine when your supervisor sign it, you think that it is okay. When you get to the defense, they rubbish everything. Your topic is not good. You don't have a problem. Your objectives are not objectives. They are actually not specific. Your dependent variable is not well defined. You have not done the right theories. You've not perused enough literature to support your conceptualization.
At that point, you wonder whether your supervisors know anything.
And then I look at them and say that they are not even talking. Yeah? So I wondered what really is going on here. Yeah? And after that, I didn't know that when you go for a defense, your supervisors are also being examined, so they're supposed to be quiet. So I was trying even to look at my supervisor like, you told me that, but they just read the newspaper, stay like this, And after that, we were sent out, and when I came in, I was given the sad news that we've looked at your paper, and what we find, you have to redo it. So that was the first time in my life that I encountered academic failure. I sat on the staircase and wept. Have you ever cried hot tears? Like I cry like this, they hit on my dress and I feel some warmth. That's what I felt. But when I was crying, I remembered that there are some people who failed in class 1. We had repeaters in class 4. We had repeaters in class 8. There are those who even never managed to go to high school. There are those who failed in high school, they never went to the university. And I wiped my tears. I said, God, am I crying for failing at PhD level when there are people who failed even in those earlier levels? And I said, God, I'm sorry. I won't cry again. I'll do what I'm supposed to do. Yeah? So I picked up my papers and went and sat again and write everything together. This is when my pregnancy was very young. And I was scheduled for another defense. And the second defense, at least that one I passed, but with major corrections. You know what that means. Again, you have to go and change so many things. And
my doctor now to give me a bed rest. I had a bit of a complicated pregnancy, and I got a bed rest. So my supervisor, especially the man, he called me and told me, Wambui, when are you supposed to bring those corrections? We need to move. Then I told him, Daktari, I'm pregnant, and I've been told that I need a bed rest. And he told me, you know what you're doing in life? You're assisting God in creation. So let's not talk about this. We'll talk about this when the baby is fine. He didn't talk about pregnancy, the baby. So I wondered, now when you're asleep, when you're lying on a bed in pain, what can you achieve? And even if you achieve, how will you go for defense? Okay? So I sat there. I got my baby. I brought up the baby. And the same supervisor would call me. This was now 2 years later. You said you took 1 year off. I took 2 years off. And he told me, Wambui, how are you? Fine. He said, do you still remember you're supposed to graduate? I said, yes. Do you still remember that your topic is a hot cake? Now, the gap you are trying to fill, if you find it filled, you'll need to start afresh. Okay. And I am sure the baby is about to look at me and tell me, Daktari, I'm not involved. That time I looked at my baby, and so he can almost say that it's not me. So I picked my books, and I really worked hard, tried to patch up my corrections, and started running after my supervisors. I think as human beings, even our supervisors, at times they give up. They are able to categorize the good students and the lazy ones. And because it was a number of years later, I think they had already classified me among the lazy students. So getting them was a problem. So at times I could call my supervisor and he or she would tell me, see me tomorrow. Then I would go to KU, find they're in for a lesson, and wait. So one time my supervisor told me, Wambui, you know when you go, you come back as if you never left. He actually said, you come back with pomp and color as if you've been around. Can you give us time to first of all do what you are doing? And I said, but Daktari, I'm here. So they guided me all along. And when my paper was good enough now to be presented, COVID came. The university was shut down. I had just submitted my proposal, so that my proposal to after the school defense. You see, I passed with major corrections. I had done all the corrections. Everything was right. So I had packaged it to present it to the graduate school. Now, when COVID came and all was shut down, I needed to present the final defense now at the school level. They gave me a letter that I will do my defense, but via Zoom. Had I known what Zoom was? Did I know how to do defense online? How was that supposed to be? But there's a friend of mine who had done his defense at Catholic University. So I called him and I told him, now I've been told I have to do my defense, but via Zoom. How do you do it? He took me through classes of how to use Zoom. Imagine something as simple as that. I had to do 2 classes about it, still via phone. Like, he would call me and tell me, look at this, open this, touch this. This is how you're supposed to share your document, like that. And I did my defense from home. I remember that time I was at home with my mom. And because it was so lengthy, when after the defense, you know, there's that time they send you out. so that they can make their decision. I remember finding my mom in the kitchen and she was so annoyed. How are they questioning my child like that? I mean, this is my daughter, and I told Mom, here it's not about your daughter. Yeah. This is it. So and that is when they gave me good news that I had passed. That was very nice, and now you can imagine you've been given a go-ahead to go to the field, collect data, and COVID is here. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for me, but I managed to do my data collection. My study was in Nairobi County, Nairobi City County Government. I did, I used a questionnaire, and because of the whole thing, that the virtualness of that was brought about by COVID, I also managed to collect some data using Google Forms. So it was also easier for me. And I packaged all the information and wrote my thesis. And again, by the time the universities were opening up a bit, I now started rushing after my supervisors, correction here, correction there, the data analysis, policy briefs, and all those things. And finally, I finished, and I submitted my thesis for examination. Again, I was scheduled for they call it thesis presentation, but it is also another defense. You people know it's another defense. It's another defense. And it took like 4 hours of questioning. 4 hours, like I'm here talking, 4 hours. Again, they sent me out, and when I came back, they told me, congratulations. Wow. Yes, it was. I was so excited on camera. Like, even one of the panelists said, I've watched how Wambui has behaved, and I've remembered that's the same way I behaved, though ours was not virtual, it was physical. So it was so exciting, and that is how the others were now about paying here and there your debts and graduating. So I'd like to take this opportunity also to encourage those people who have started their academic journey, that after a long journey, it gets there. And when it gets there, the happiest day is the graduation day. And before the graduation, you are supposed to publish a paper. The one I published, I published a paper, and then there was a conference call to Cameroon to go and present a paper I did for Africa Leaks, and I got the opportunity. So when I was coming back, when we were waiting for the flight to come back to Kenya, is when one of my colleagues shared with me they call it that form for the people who are graduating. Yeah, the graduation list. And of course my name was there. I was so excited. I think I was jumping higher than the plane. Because, also knowing that you will graduate and finding your name in the graduation list, they are two different. Much as they are calling it provisional, if it's provisional and your name is not there, it's another journey. Yeah. So imagine it's a provisional one, and I am here. My name is there. So when I boarded the aircraft, I told God, this one must land in Kenya because I need to graduate. So and the graduation now after that. We did the presentation to the VC and and can you imagine, my paper was, they are supposed to be two to be presented to the whole lot. Yeah. I was among the people who are presenting. Wow. Again, I wondered, okay. So I even asked one of the people who are organizing that, why did you choose my paper? I said that we are looking for a topic that cuts across. Your study is in Nairobi County, so everyone here is in tandem with what Nairobi County has. So I presented my paper, and when it came to the graduation, it was awesome. I had graduated 2 more times for my bachelor's and for my master's, but this was so different Yes, the doctor who had graduated several years before me, he had told me, Wambui, when you come to graduate, you will notice that there's a time the whole university will pause for just you to graduate. And for real, it happened. When your name is called, they pause and wait for you to walk up, go kneel down, and it was just so awesome, so humbling. You forget all the pain. Actually, when I got out, after kneeling down, when I stood up and the chancellor, the vice chancellor and the chancellor were congratulating me, I only managed to tell them, I'm Ruth Wainaina. That's all I could manage to. I was so humbled that I felt that I only need to tell them who I am. And after that, the rest is history. Dr. Ruth Wambui I became. And I'm so thankful to God. It took me 9 good years. From the day I enrolled, that was 2012, to the day I graduated, 2022. So I graduated 22 December. So, and you see, when I was a stroke 2012, but I joined in 2013. That's how they are coming to 9 years. So I am happy because, well, I wanted to have, because I had a baby before I became a doctor. I thought that I'll have a pre-doc baby and a post-doc baby. I ended up having a pre-doc baby and one in between. So I will say that anything that you plan, if you have the will, it is possible. And I will say that every long journey starts with a single step. It doesn't matter how long you have taken. It doesn't matter what you've gone through. But now when I look at my document, I actually don't like looking at it more because I wouldn't want to see a mistake that I would be associated with. So I salute them so much because of the many times they frustrated me so that I do not end up with a bad document to my name. And my words to you who is out there who feels that this thing does not make sense anymore, or it is so frustrating, or you have taken too long, I would say that it doesn't matter how far you've come. What matters most is from now going forward. What are you going to do about it? Then the other thing you should know is that your supervisor is already a doctor or a professor. Yeah. The person who needs here the PhD is yourself. Yeah. So if at all they have 10 things to do, looking at your document will be number 11. But for you, it's going to be number 1. And because the availability is not given, if somebody is available in town, please go to town. True. If your supervisor is available in their house, go there. I mostly say, when a cat and a rat are running after each other, then I make a correction. It is the cat that runs after the rat. They cannot go at the same speed because the cat is running for food and the rat is running for life. So mostly the rat wins because the cat can afford to eat something else or eat tomorrow. But the rat, if you decide that let me rest, that's the end of your life. So I feel that a supervisor and a student cannot afford to run at the same speed. So if at all you're running at the rate of your supervisor, you're wrong. Run faster. It is you who needs the document and not the supervisor. Now that I am a doctor of philosophy, that tells me that there are some students who can come to me for supervision. This is how I would do it differently. Number 1, I would first of all tell them what is expected of them. Because I felt that simply because students undergo coursework, supervisors believe that by the time they come to the field, they already know what is expected of them. So I would take them through 2 classes about what I expect for their proposal, such that when they are out there, they already know what it takes. The other thing If I look at how we are formed from the time we got to nursery school, primary, secondary, university, education has always been communal, or there's that social setup. There are cohorts. We are in grade 1, we are in class 8, we are in form 3, we are doing coursework.
It's a social thing.
It's a social thing. But now when you're told, go out there, you literally do it. You go out there alone. So I would also try my level best, if it's possible, even if I'll put the students I'm supervising into groups, even if it's groups of 3, such that when I tell them, on this day, I want you to all bring your concept. At least they have something to compare notes about, so that they have their own internal push, such that people do not have that liberty of departing from the rest. Because once you're left alone, not everyone has that intrinsic motivation of wanting to run the race alone. So that is what I would do. And the other thing I wouldn't ever do, I wouldn't send a student to do what I'm not sure that they know. I'll find out, do you know what a problem contains, or what constitutes a problem? If the answer is yes or no, I tell them, find out first, or this is it, such that I do not ever send a student to go and look for something that they also don't know. Because if you don't know where you're going, any place you get becomes a destination. So that is what I would do differently. Probably, Dr. Naomi, you can tell us, what would you do differently?
Thank you so much, Dr. for that question. That what it is I would do differently now that I'm a doctor of philosophy. First of all, having gone through the journey of being a doctor, I know the pains and the gains of being a doctor. And one thing that I would do so much so differently is that I consider that anybody who decide to do a PhD, you'll find that most cases is either a family person or a career person. That's one thing that I'll put in my mind. And when I put that one in mind is that I will appreciate that there's so much which is required of this person. And therefore what I'll do, I'll ensure that at any given time, I don't take so many other students to supervise. Because one thing that I realize is that most of this, the supervisors, they take so many other students so that even when they meet one student, they don't have enough time to guide this student. They overwork themselves. And therefore, for me, first, I would reduce the number of students. I would focus on quality rather than quantity. I make sure that I get a few students at any given time, and I have my time plans, my time schedule. That if I pick a student, I purpose and we agree, and we have a clear roadmap with the student. As you said, your supervisor told you that I don't work with failures. I would also state it from the word go, that you come to me, first of all, I promise that I'm committed to see you to the end, and you too, therefore, you're supposed to be committed. By so doing, at any given time, I take fewer students so that I'm able to give them more time or enough time so that I can be able to finish their coursework or their project in good time. The reason being is that, as I said, this is a family person, is a career person, and this is an extra thing this person is undertaking. The other thing is that I would do differently. I would be driven by the spirit of wanting this person to be better than me, to graduate and become a better person than me. Because from where I sit, sometimes you'd feel, as much as the supervisors, they would give you the corrections, they would tell you go and do these corrections. Sometimes you feel that they don't guide you to the core. Sometimes they give you feel like they were giving, now from what I understand and what I know about research, when I compare what my supervisors were telling me then, I would feel that they were giving me for a half-baked kind of guidance. And therefore, I would feel like they were feeling that they don't want students who are better, or people who will become better than them. So for me, I'll be driven by that spirit that I want to make people who are better than me, so that they can be able to propagate my sector. And especially like now I'm in entrepreneurship, I would look forward to supervise students who are doing entrepreneurship. So I would want to have people who are better than me when it comes to the line of entrepreneurship. The other thing that I would do differently is that at any given time, I will not take advantage of a student. I want to say this because sometimes you feel like supervisors take advantage of the student in terms of sometimes they even commercialize the supervision. You feel like there's some supervisors, they ask for extra money from a student. Yet this somebody is a student, and as I've said, some may not even have that money. Some they have even gone for loan for them to undertake their doctorate. So I would not at any given time think of I can commercialize the career or the work of supervising a student. I'll see it that it's a process of making or wanting to make a better person than me, because I want to believe that is the calling or vocation of being a teacher. A teacher is supposed to mold a student to become a better version of him or herself. For me, I would look forward to make a better version of myself from a PhD student. There are things that, as I have said, I've seen, for example, even from how we are able to work together here now at Doctory, when we are already doctors, we are testament that synergy bear fruits, synergy have tangible results. So I would therefore also encourage the students, the student to work together in their thesis. As much as they might be focusing on different problem, they embark to work together, because by so doing they'll be able to push one another, they'll be able to encourage one another even when things sometimes are very tough, and by so doing nobody will want to be left behind. For example, if you're working as a team of 3 people who keep on encouraging one another, nobody will want to hear that the other person graduated and then they did not graduate. So I also work very hard to encourage teamwork. The other thing that I would do differently is I'll be able to make my students appreciate the ed from the beginning, because sometimes I feel when I put myself in the shoes of a student, I feel as a student you are thrown into a murky water, you swim your way out to the other end, whether you swim or you swim. So I would be very kind to my student to make them see the ed from the beginning. You guide them in terms of problem statement on how to develop the concept, on how to do their methodology work, and more importantly, to be able to show them the importance of their work. So you'll find that sometimes when you present your proposal to the supervisor, sometimes they don't take time to show you the importance or the impact that your work is likely to bring to the society. Because as a PhD or any thesis is geared toward solving a societal problem. So as a supervisor, I would endeavor to encourage my student the importance of your work, that your work is weighted out there to go and solve a certain problem that the society is struggling with, that maybe the government is struggling with, that maybe the employers are struggling with, or that maybe the business people are struggling with, or maybe the youth are struggling with. So in what I'm seeing is that I will endeavor to bring life into someone's work, because by so doing it will bring a lot of encouragement to this student, because sometimes you feel like from where I am, because my supervisors, they did not endeavor to show that to show me the importance of my thesis. Sometimes you feel like you are doing it for the sake of it, or you are doing it for the sake of graduating. But the minute I realized that I'm doing it because out there is waited for, it's going to solve a problem out there, you'll have that strength, you'll have that courage, you have that drive to want to finish it in good time, so that can go and do the work that is required for. I think those are some of the things that I would endeavor to do differently.
So thank you so much, Dr. Riz, Dr. Naomi, Dr. Ruth. It has truly been a journey. It has not been easy. And thank you for walking the journey to the very end. And thank you for sharing this journey with us. Statistics show there is someone who completed their study a year before me. I think it must have been maybe your cohort or the cohort before. And statistics indicated that only 10% of students who actually start their PhDs complete. There are so many people out there who have registered for their PhDs, they have paid the school fees, they have completed the coursework, but they are unable to walk this journey alone. And it is sad because, like we said earlier, the society needs you. The community needs you. The country needs you. The world needs you. In fact, at this level, although I know we shall speak about this later, we are no longer doing things just for our communities and our country. We are doing things for the globe because we are the few people who have the know-how to do this. So if you're stuck out there, this is a call for you to unstuck yourself, also to speak. Get away of unstucking yourself. It's never easy, but like Dr. Ruth said, supervisors are also able to categorize. When you start your PhD, they know this one is serious, this one will complete. This one is not serious, this one will just waste my time. And who are they going to give attention? They're going to give attention to the person who is serious and who seems to want to complete. Remember, this is part of their teaching work. So for majority of universities, they actually don't pay supervisors separately. So a supervisor wants to do this as part of their teaching work, but they want to help the student who wants to be helped. So please be that student who wants to be helped so that you can complete this journey. That said, we are here. And like again, I think it's Dr. Naomi who said this, you need to be in a group, what normally we call a support group that will help you. You know the way if you have, say you are recovering from cancer, you can join a support group for cancer so that you walk the journey together. Or sometimes you have twins. I know there are support groups for twins. There are support groups for all kinds of things. I don't know whether you have a support group for your PhD. If you don't have, we are here to support you. We work together. And in fact, when we met after our PhDs, we had met earlier, like Dr. Naomi and I, we went to high school together. Dr. Ruth and I, we did our PhD at some point, we crossed, but we never worked together until after our PhDs. And since we started working together, the journey has been so easy because we are stuck, the other person is not stuck, and they can help you so that you start moving. Remember, no one single person is the source of all knowledge, even in your particular area of specialization. So you can join us, you can call us, our number is on the screen, and you can come to our offices or even just speak to us on phone so that we are able to help you. We can also work the journey together. And remember, there's also the question, what next after your PhD? And I know we shall have time to discuss that in our other sessions. So we are very grateful to be able to share this journey with you, and we are also glad to have you join us and walk the journey with us. Thank you so much.